Hi, my name is Carrie. You might know me as K Warning or from my shop 8-Bit Stitch. Today, I would like to teach you how to dye Aida. So I'm just going to be showing you my technique for dyeing Aida when I want to change it to a solid color. I have a black sparkly Aida that I sell on my shop. This is my technique that I use when taking white opalescent Aida and turning it into black sparkly Aida. I don't know if you can see that shine. Ooh, sparkly. This can be done with any Aida as long as it is a natural fiber. The Aida that I'm using is 100% cotton, so it's going to dye fairly easily. There are a few things you're going to need. A stock pot, used only for dyeing. Do not cook any food in this. An instrument to stir. Again, only use this for your dyeing method. Do not use this for cooking. Gloves. These are optional, I suppose, but I find them handy so that I don't have to deal with staining my hands. Your dye. I'm using Rit Dye. You can use powdered dye or liquid dye. Something that I didn't show that I use is white vinegar. I do add this into the water before I start to boil it. It can help the dye adhere to your fabric. I don't tend to dye more than 4 pieces of Aida at a time. The amount of fabric can change the hue of the color that you end up with. First step that I do is I serge the ends of my Aida to avoid them falling apart during the dyeing process. You'll see this towards the end of my dyeing that you can kind of see strands pulling out with my tongs. However, this was from serging pieces that I didn't snip. I don't know why I didn't trim them. I should have. But trust me, this ends up being way worse if you don't serge your Aida beforehand. If you don't have a serger, you can still dye Aida. I would just recommend buying a piece of Aida that's larger than what you want your finished dyed piece to be, with the understanding that you're going to lose some of the ends of your Aida during the dyeing process. It will unravel. It will be kind of stringy and messy. You can of course trim that off at the end, but again, your piece is going to end up smaller than the original piece of Aida. Maybe not significantly, but if you grab a piece of Aida that's just enough that you need and then you lose some in the dyeing process, that's a huge headache. So the first step is to fill your stock pot with water. I don't personally measure anything out. I apologize. I just kind of wing it. I do leave a little bit of space at the top of my stock pot because we are going to bring it to a slight boil and you don't want your water to overflow. Also keep in mind that when you add your Aida into your stock pot, your water is going to kind of rise. So you want to give yourself 2 to 4 inches at the top. Add your white vinegar. And bring your water to a slight boil, not a rolling boil. Once your water is at a slight boil, you can add your dye of choice. Stir that until it does not feel grainy anymore if you're using powder dye. If you're using liquid dye, stir it until the water has become one consistent color. Take your Aida pieces and wet them under cold water before adding them to the stock pot. Go ahead and put your Aida into the stock pot. And you're going to stir continuously for 30 minutes. You're going to be tempted to walk away. You're going to be tempted to stir every once in a while because you think it'll be okay. You are going to stir and stir and stir. Keep stirring. Now, why do we stir the entire time? It ensures that your Aida is going to have even coverage throughout the entire piece. Especially if you're putting more than one piece of Aida in there and then walking away and leaving it, they might kind of crumple in the water and there might be sections that aren't as even as others. So just keep stirring. Once your 30 minutes is up, you can dump your water into a sink. I unfortunately don't have like a outdoor sink or a laundry room sink, so I do empty my water into my kitchen sink, but I make sure to clean my sink with a cleaner that has bleach in it after I'm finished. You might see a running theme here that I don't want you to have any type of utensil that you eat with touching anything that has been dyed. It's not good to ingest this. You're then going to rinse out your Aida in cold water until it runs clear. And then you're going to throw it in the washing machine. My washing machine is upstairs in my house, so I transfer my Aida into a plastic bag from the sink to transport it upstairs. I don't add any detergent, and I run it on a cold cycle. I then hang it to dry and then press. You can even do this process a second time if you didn't achieve the color that you necessarily wanted. And that's it. That is how you dye Aida at home. I will also create another video on how to jar dye Aida that really creates a different effect. And that can be really enjoyable because that's something you can just set it and forget it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, happy stitching. Sparkly, sparkly. I hope you can see this, otherwise it's just annoying.